Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Huntsville and to Muskoka. I'm lucky enough to call this place my home. I'm Blair McKenzie. I'm a Passive House Certified Tradesperson, and I'm the owner of Muskoka River Fine Homes. We're just a small but growing renovator and construction company located just down the road in Port Sydney there, a beautiful little village. I'm a relatively new member to the green building sector of our economy, of our industry, and a member of Passive Buildings Canada for almost a year. So I'm going to take a few minutes to quickly just introduce myself, talk a bit about my background, and then I'm going to move really quickly through the very few projects that I've had an opportunity to work on at this point. I was born and raised in downtown Toronto, where I started working part-time in construction in 1989 as a 15-year-old. I spent about 20 years working there as a tradesperson, mostly as a subcontractor for 2 or 3 neighborhood contractors. I was lucky to work for these guys. They were very focused on honesty and high quality work and customer service, and most importantly, respecting everybody that they worked with and their employees as well. They taught me not only how to be a good tradesman, but also how to be a good member of society and how to look out for everybody in your community and not just yourself. This really reinforced and reflected how my parents had raised me. And combining that with my love of the outdoors and my passion about the environment and my growing concern about it, that's kind of started to lead me to where I find myself and my company now. Historically, I focused on home renovations and remodels, repairs and maintenance. Once my wife Allison and I moved to Muskoka, I started to do some property management as well. During my time working in downtown Toronto, we worked on a ton of century houses and all kinds of remodels. We did countless renos and big and small. A good portion of these I spent working on with my dear friend John Hobbs, who's here tonight. Someone who's taught me more than I could really ever get into, so we'll just cruise right by that. We did all sorts of stuff. These are just a couple. This was going back a while, so cameras weren't the way they are now. We don't have a ton of pictures, but it was really great. We also did a couple of more interesting projects like these pictures, which are a couple of indoor climbing gyms that we worked on. I think we did about 3 or 4 of those, if I'm not mistaken. After moving to Muskoka, I just sort of stuck with the status quo. I did small renos. I did lots of kitchens. I did lots of bathrooms. I did, some outbuildings. They're very popular here. Just stuff that was fun to do, neat places to work. We did a few historical cottage restorations like this one, which has just celebrated its 100th year. So, these are properties that people were struggling with what to do, and, we can come in and recondition that stuff for them and give it new life. I expanded and contracted, hiring local guys and bringing my trades up from the city to try and help on the bigger projects. I did find it hard to sort of find some direction and to find people that I could work with and that were good to work with. The good people were snapped up by the bigger builders, and the smaller guys weren't really cutting the mustard for me. It was a lot of fun. Sometimes getting to work was fun. I definitely never got to ride in any airboats when I worked in downtown Toronto. So that stuff was neat. Sometimes it was hard work, like digging footings in a swamp or putting up siding in -20. It's not -40, but I'm from Toronto, so I'm not as tough as some of those folks up north. But it was an experience, and we survived it. Maybe someday we'll put up some siding in the summer. I hear that's fun. There are many great moments. Working here in Muskoka, we get quite the offices. So this is just a few shots from some of the offices we've worked in over the years. You can't really beat that when you look out from your desk and you see that. Through all of this, I was already building a foundation for my future. We didn't think about it the way we do today, but we were extending the life of these buildings. And although not building to the passive standard that we shoot for now, we did our best to do a better job, to insulate well, to create airtightness and upgrade mechanicals where it was possible. After Allison, my wife, and I bought our property in 2003, I began to design and build our own house. When I started to plan and build that, it was a while ago. I thought I could do all that stuff myself. I was 30 and I had 10 years experience, so of course I knew everything. Now I know a little bit more 20 years later, and I know that I need other people in this room to help me do some of that, and I can just focus on what I do, the construction part. Nevertheless, my house is what I really consider my first high-performance project. It certainly wasn't passive by any standard, but the intent was there, just not the knowledge. So please hold your gasps on this next slide. I didn't understand embodied carbon yet, and it was the turn of the millennia. A lot of builders had drank the spray foam Kool-Aid, and I was one of them. I know. Anyway, I did what I could, and that project I insulated and sealed up as best I could with spray foam, which really does stick. I meticulously hand-caulked every joint, every post, every crack in the wood before the spray foam went in. It was like a slow, clumsy aero barrier, On paper, achieving about an R28 in the walls and close to an R50 in the roof. The basement was concrete block with 2-inch continuous EPS glued to the walls and the seams taped. 24-inch center, Roxol, pretty standard detail down there to finish off the envelope. We just did Tyvek and taped it to the foundation, old style. I feel I did a bit better on the mechanicals. I mean, again, it was 2003, so I did install a very high efficiency, albeit propane-fired boiler, indirect hot water, supplying our floor heat on all 3 floors, which are really nice and thick. I have about 4 inches of gypcrete and tile and everything, so we get a really great thermal mass from that. Although, without the windows that we see displayed here, the building does kind of suffer. And although it's very stable inside, we don't have a big swing in temperature. You sit in front of those windows and it's minus 20 out. It's not really a comfortable place to be. If only we had had some modeling on that, it would have been good. We did install an HRV, wait for it, for balanced ventilation. So I did get 1 passive house point there, I think. I also oriented the house to maximize summer shading, and I built 3-foot overhangs, which did work really well. We don't have any central air. We manage with just a couple of days a year with just a window shaker. And it really does help to keep the rain and snow off the siding. So it's really done a good job with creating some resilience there. Moving on, somewhere in 2010, I think it was, I met Ben Pauley from Evolve. And that was at a small little building, green building conference in Bracebridge, which almost nobody showed up to. And it turned out to be really a significant moment for me and my career. It took some time, a few years. Much to my delight, Ben stayed in touch through that whole time and sent some leads my way, and it sort of kept our relationship going. We fast forward all the way now to 2021, I believe, and he had continued to grow, pardon me, and it's almost zero alcohol. I had struggled to find people. I had just recently attracted my first full-time employee, and he was somebody I could really see that was going to change the dynamic. Somebody that I immediately knew was going to be someone that I could build a business with. So with him and a phone call from, I guess it was from one of the project managers from Evolve, inviting us to come and do some work with them. It was a crazy time there at the end of 2021. And with the pandemic rolling along, it was our opportunity to work on our first true passive level project. Now we're going to get into the stats. I know everybody loves this. So this is a passive design solution, single family home in Gravenhurst. Although we only handled the traditional trades, we did the siding, the drywall, taping, kitchen installation. It gave us a chance to get hands-on and dig into this community, and energized me to transitioning our company to pursue more green and passive projects. This build was a panelized project provided by Lowry Building Company with inline fiberglass, triple pane windows, air source heat pump, HRV. If I'm not mistaken, it was all electric. The frost-protected insulated concrete slab was designed to R43 with exterior panels and 2x6 structure, rock wool bats. Sorry, I'm not holding my mic very well. And 9.5 inch TJs full of dense packed cellulose up to about R60. The steel roof was above an unconditioned attic space with approximately 26 inches of cellulose. The steel roof was above an unvented or a ventilated attic space, and I think we had about R92 on that, if the stats are there. Air and vapor control was the continuous OSB sheathing on the 2x6 frame carried up from the foundation over the ceiling, caulked and taped, of course. The Rothoblast, I think it's the 160 Evo there, it's a pretty robust product, but it wasn't robust enough to hold back all that cellulose. We did have a bit of billowing, and we ended up going back over it with a second layer of strapping to keep Maybach happy and keep some air back there. So I'm not convinced about the lack of exterior sheathing as a design, but some of you folks out there are going to teach me some more about that, because I think there's different opinions there. This is a beautiful, beautiful home on a beautiful lot. It turned out great, and it's going to be a very, very comfortable place for the family who are really great folks to live there for a really long time. This project led straight into another project that Evolve invited us to work on out in Tiny Township near Wasaga Beach. We had hoped to be part of the panel installation, as this was another prefab panel project. We weren't able to get free in time, unfortunately, so again, we mainly handled the traditional trades. We provided all the interior and exterior cladding and trim, the interior door install, some of the remedial framing, a bit of site supervision, and some other assorted interior work. Although we did get a chance to install our first Veta door, window, and side light, our very first triple pane, in fact, of any kind. This was coined the unfinished house by the architects David and Helena of Workshop Architecture Toronto. It was meant to suggest an approach of material reduction and budget restraint that intentionally left parts of the design looking incomplete. It was also meant as an opportunity for them to test out the panelized construction process for some of their other projects that they had coming up. It had a frost-protected reinforced slab foundation on top of about 9.5 inches of Type 3 EPS for about R47. And exterior prefab walls were by Simple Life Homes, which I think someone is here from them. They were 2x4 and 2x6 frames with an 11/7/8 outboard TJs full of cellulose. And Workshop's Architecture's interesting approach to the interior with the exposed framing and the 1/2-inch fir ply, which was also the air barrier. The outside was a mixture of open joint wood and metal cladding. The prefab roof panels were topped with corrugated metal, 5/8 zip sheathing, 2x4 airspace, continuous Mento Plus, 16-inch engineered joist full of cellulose, interior OSB taped for the vapor barrier, and a 2x4 service cavity to keep those nasty service people away from our air barrier. And Yahoo, no drywall, so no drywall sanding, trades guys. I'm proud to say that this home was featured in Dwell magazine. It was also a 2024 Best of Canada winner at Canadian Interiors and the most popular house in April 2024 at thezine.com. So a big congratulations to Workshop, to Evolve, and to my team. I think we all worked really hard on that, and it did come out pretty darn well, if I do say so myself. I also had a little note for folks. I would encourage you to check out Workshop Architecture. I don't work for them, but they're doing some super interesting stuff. One of their current projects is to apply what they learned on the unfinished house using prefab panels to retrofit a 16-unit seniors residence in downtown Toronto with the goal of an 80% energy carbon intensity reduction. And they're shooting for the EnerPhit certification that, for those of you who don't know, that's the renovation standard for Passive House. The really interesting thing is with the panelized approach and the overcladding of the building, they're hoping to leave the residents in place while they do all of this work, which is a really neat idea, especially under those circumstances. And we have such a huge retrofit problem in the built environment these days that coming up with solutions like that where we can fix up the existing is really important. Now we're on quickly to my current project. Yeah, I skipped ahead to the joke there. This one we're working on presently. It's a passive-inspired addition to a 1940s family cottage on a teeny island on Lake Muskoka. Access is very interesting, as you see there. It's a bit unique, and that's a bit of an understatement. It's about 100 feet offshore, and the water is very shallow on one side, and the island is very steep on the other, so there's no getting a barge in there. Our customers were nice enough to build us a little barge there to float our material across the knee-deep water, which worked great until the district decided to lower the level of the lake in Muskoka for the winter season. So that thing which we coined the yacht is now grounded, at least for now. We did manage to get 9,000 pounds of concrete and backfill across it before that happened, so we're glad about that. Now we're left with the footbridge. Everything goes across that. The 18-foot 6x6 Dougie fur and the porta potty, they all go across that now. This is a double stud wall project with some structural posts to satisfy the building department. They're always creating interesting situations for us, so there's some thermal bridging problems there. We're estimating about R38 in the walls and about R40 in the floor assembly, close to R50 in the roof, all with dense packed cellulose. Not exactly passive, but we're doing our best, and it's certainly better than code. With the two-section design, the main bedroom houses a bathroom and a mechanical, and the entranceway joins to the existing cottage. With the offset ridge detail you can see there in that section and the pier foundation, it does present an interesting challenge. Given the grade of the site and the bedrock at the surface, we needed to get creative and to get our insulation as much as we wanted to get in there. Some of the spaces were too tight, so we had to create some prefab panels and drop them in from above, which we detailed carefully with our Mento 1000 you can see there, and some Den's glass sheathing. We brought all of that up and we taped it all to create our beginning of our air seal. Oop. Henry there, they get their little boost with their nice product there, which we're using to wrap the beams and tie in that bottom structure. This Mento will go up and around. Well, that will tie into the Mento on the wall sheathing, and it will go up and around the house, all the way up and up over the ridge and rafters and back down the other side and tie in. It'll all be taped, and it will all be pretty, as it will eventually get finished with the Shoshugiban siding. Between the double stud walls, we'll have 3.5 inches of space, and that will give us about almost R50 we're going to get. It's going to be electric heat. It's going to have a nice HRV in there for the conditioned space. We just started wall framing, so we're pushing hard for the season. We're hoping to get her closed in, and we're probably going to have to come back and finish the interior and the siding next year. But we'll see. It's been a good season, and if we're lucky, we'll be handing that over to them before the cottaging season starts next year. Anyway, I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to say I appreciate y'all letting me share some of my journey into high performance. It's just starting. I can't believe the presentation I just followed. That's where I'm hoping to be heading with my company. That was just incredible. Anyway, thanks for welcoming me, and I'm excited to get involved in the Passive House community, have a chance to work with some of you out there, and I'm excited about what the future holds for our industry. I'm proud to be taking our company in that direction, and I really hope it's going to benefit our industry, our community, our future tradespeople, as well as our planet. So thank you. Good night. Thanks, Matt.